The greater good.
Hey everybody, Greater Good Mining here. Today I'm going to repaste my OG KS1 that I've had since last June. It's been abused, this poor thing. You might have saw my most recent video where I need to replace the power supply fan, and I ended up replacing it with Noctua fans. The power supply fan and the back fans are all Noctua now. It's nice and silent. Check out that video if you want to see how to do it. The only problem with those fans is they only run at about 3,000 RPM, so it's definitely less airflow. 110 CFM per fan. Compared to stock, it's less airflow, and my OG KS1 only has 2 fans in the back. So I'm gonna have to definitely repaste this thing. Board 1 only has 12 chips, board 3 only has 12 chips, but check out poor board 2. We are in the danger zone now. This chip 1 in my last video, it was in the 90s and it was doing fine, but it is getting hotter every day in my garage. Like, we're approaching summer and I live in a very hot climate. So I will repaste these chips and I will leave the Noctua fans going, and hopefully it'll be just fine. But I would not recommend going this long without repasting. I've had this thing running like full time since last June. Do not do that. It's just not good for it. So anyway, this will be kind of like a quick video, but you'll be able to see each of the steps if you haven't done this before. And then I'll show you the results after. If you're into this kind of content, check out some of my other videos. I've got a ton of them, like Tangem wallet setup videos, KS0 Pro overclocking videos where I maximize them, put heat sinks on the MOSFET chips, all that kind of stuff. So check out some of these videos. Do me a favor, if you like the video, please hit the like button. It does help out more than you think. And consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see future videos. I will be tracking this thing all the way until I sell it. I've had it since last June. I haven't sold a single Kaspa, and I've been mining to my Tangem wallet. So if you guys want a Tangem wallet, discount code is Greater Good. I will leave a link in the description and you can get 10% off. So anyway, enjoy the video. I'm gonna go ahead and get to work, and I'll tell you what I'm doing along the way, and we'll see what the results are at the end. First thing you need to do is remove the cover, and there's 4 screws on the top, front and back, that you need to remove this metal cover. And then after you remove the cover, I usually throw the screws in it just to kind of keep them off the side so they don't roll around. Then you're going to need to remove this top plate, and to speed it up, I'm going to use my power drill here. So unscrew the 2 screws at the bottom of that plate, set it off the side, and then if you have a second batch relator KS1, you'll have a fan here. You'll have 2 fans actually in the front. So just remove the screws for the fans, or if you're not going to replace the fans, you can just remove the outer screws like you see me doing here, and that'll remove the entire front plate and the fans all at once, kind of save you a little bit of time. You'd have to unplug the fans from the control board, of course. So for me, like I said a billion times, my OG KS1 doesn't have fans in the front. They only have 2 fans in the back. So now that you've done that, you've got your hash boards exposed and you've got your bus bar screws exposed. So we're going to unscrew the bus bar screws. There's 6 of them for me. There'll be 4 of them for you, for your OG KS1. When I'm taking stuff apart, I like to take pictures. You'll see me taking my phone out. I'm taking pictures just to make sure I don't put anything back the wrong way. It's very simple to do. Especially pay attention to the cables that are coming off the bus bar. So you'll want to take note of where those cables are running off of, and then that way you know for sure you're putting everything back the way it was intended. So just unscrew all, for you, all 4 screws. For me, I'm unscrewing 6. Get the wires out of the way. And then you'll need to detach the ribbon cables here from each hash board. You should be able to slide them out. This is I think the 3rd hash board, if I remember correctly. It's only got the 12 chips instead of 18 chips. And so you see the heatsink, it's only half of the hash board has a heatsink on it. The middle board is the one that has the extra chips on it. And it looks a little bit more like a normal KS1 board. It's got a heatsink that runs across the whole entire hash board. So we'll take all these screws out when we go to repaste. And then last but not least, the 3rd board here. Okay, so once you got the hash boards out, now blow the inside out with some compressed air. Mine wasn't too bad because I had just cleaned it out a little bit with some compressed air when I did the Noctua fan, but I didn't have the hash boards out. So once you get the hash boards out, clean it out. Now check out the nasty funk on this thing. So the dust kind of accumulates at the end of these heat sinks and starts blocking airflow from going over the heat sinks. So you really need to clean it out. So I use compressed air. You could probably get away with a soft bristle brush to kind of clean those grooves out. Just whatever way you want to do it. Compressed air for me is a nice easy way. It just blasts it all out of there. So get the front of the hash board cleaned up where the heat sinks are, but don't forget there's some heat sinks that are glued to the back hash board that you will not be removing. You want to clean those too. So blast it with compressed air, get all that dust lint, whatever out. And then that way you know that you're getting good airflow over the heat sinks and it's cooling the board and the chips down the way it's supposed to. Okay, so you've got the heat sinks all cleaned up with the compressed air, got all the dust and lint out of there. Now we need to start unscrewing the heat sinks from the hash board. So I'm not gonna make you watch this in regular time, but I wanted to show you, make sure you don't lose these little plastic washers. They're easy to lose, they fall off when you're unscrewing them. Just be aware that they're there and try not to lose any of them. And so just unscrew all of the screws. I just wanted to show you what the paste looks like on the back of the heatsink. So this is not as bad as I thought, considering how long it's been running. Some of my other Icerivers that have more power to them, they were like, it was like powder when I got to it, and this one's been running longer than any of them. So I was kind of actually impressed that it held up as well as it did. Now we've got all the screws out, and I want to show you the hash board without the heat sinks attached. Those are the chips, and that's what we need to clean up. I'm gonna use a little paper towel, a little rubbing alcohol, we'll get all that junk off. Okay, I got my rubbing alcohol, a little paper towel. Some people do this without the rubbing alcohol. I just find it's easier to kind of get a cleaner surface with the rubbing alcohol, get all the junk off. So that's it, just rub all that off the heat sink to start with. All right, next we're gonna clean up the chips with a little bit of paper towel and rubbing alcohol. You can use a soft bristle brush here to get the goop around the chip gone. Don't worry, I don't leave it like that. I'm too OCD to leave that much paste around that bottom right chip. But the point is just clean them all up with a little bit of paper towel and or rubbing alcohol. Get all of them cleaned up, and then the next thing we'll do is repaste the chips. I'm using Arctic MX6 to repaste my chips, and the link is in the description of the video, and it's an Amazon affiliate link. If you use it, it helps the channel out a little bit at no extra cost to you, so I appreciate it if you use those links. Okay, now for the fun part, let's repaste the chips. I try to put like a little less than a pea size on each chip. I've been accused in previous videos of maybe using a little too much. You don't want to use a lot, but I have never had a problem with any of the repastes that I've done. They've always lowered my chip temps. I've never had an issue. They hold up well. So the amount that I'm using is usually the amount that I use. I'd recommend about that much. Okay, now that you've got the paste on, now it's time to remount the heat sinks. Pay attention to the direction of the airflow and how this was removed, because you have to put it on the way you took it off. So just pay attention when you're taking it apart, and then just kind of ease it back on there. You'll see if you look directly from the top, the screw holes lining up. Don't shift it around too much after you get it on there. And I usually just put them both back on and then start putting the screws in. When I am putting these back in, I usually just lay them in there, and then I kind of try to go in a kind of like a star pattern. You know, like if your dad ever taught you how to put a tire, take a tire off and put one back on your car. You don't want to torque each one down really hard and then one at a time tighten them all the way. You want to go one at a time, tighten them up a little at a time in some sort of pattern. Pick whatever pattern you want, but I usually kind of try to stagger so the pressure is even across the whole heat sink. You don't want to warp it. You don't want to warp the hash board. So just kind of do that, star pattern, and then do a final torque down, and hopefully it'll be nice and even. Okay, you've repasted and reattached your heat sinks on all your hash boards. Congrats, good job. Slide the hash board back in just the way you found it and reattach the ribbon cables, and we'll do that for all three hash boards. Okay, you've got all three hash boards slid in, and now we are going to make sure all the ribbon cables are clicked back into the hash boards. Reattach the power wires to the bus bar. The black wire goes on the bus bar that's deeper into the machine. The yellow cable goes on the bus bar that's closest to you. Now we're gonna re-screw in all 6 screws. For me, it's 6. For you, it should be 4 if you have a KS1 that's like the second batch. So screw those screws down on the bus bar, and then the next thing we'll do is reattach the fans to the front. If you kept it all on one plate, you can just reattach that plate with the fans and then plug your fans back into the control board. For me, it's just like a front grate. Okay, you tighten down your bus bar screws. We're gonna put the screws back in on all 4 corners of this grate, and or if you took it off with the fans attached, cool, whatever, put those 4 screws back in. Congrats, you guessed what's next. The little panel that covers the bus bar needs to go back on. 2 screws to screw that back in. Congrats, you're in the home stretch. Just 4 more screws to go. 2 in the front, 2 in the back, then the cover's back on, and then we can see how our results are with the new paste. Okay, so here are my results. So board 1, chip temp max 58. Board 3, chip temp max 62. And I want to say my ambient temps in my garage right now are as hot as they ever get. It was 90 degrees in the garage today. That's the max it ever gets, even in the summertime. So with that being said, let's take a look at board 2. That was the trouble board, and board 2 with chip 1 was the trouble chip. Chip 1 now, instead of being 100 degrees, is down to 76, and that is with 90 degree ambient temperatures basically. And the other chips are just fine. So I'm out of the danger zone, even with my lower RPM speed fans. See, this is the max my Noctua fans can go, is 3000 RPMs. But 110 CFM from these is enough to keep all of my chips cool. Even the hottest chip on the hottest board is now cool enough to run. So I don't have to worry about this anymore. I don't have to worry about my chip temps going too high on my KS1. So I am very happy with these results. It takes a little stress off me worrying about these chip temps, and I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope that you learned how to do this. Don't forget, if you do it, it's at your own risk. If you're not sure how to do this, maybe consider having a qualified person do it for you. But I would recommend, if you've been running your Iceriver for a while, especially the higher power models that have higher wattage and higher temps and things like that, this paste can dry up quickly and it can wreck your chips and it can wreck your machine. So I think it's a good idea to do some maintenance on these every once in a while, even though you do probably void your warranty and take the risk of doing damage to your machine when you disassemble it. But you really do need to clean these things out every once in a while, just like a GPU. If you have GPUs, you need to clean them, repad them, things like that. So it's kind of part of the maintenance that you have to do on these Icerivers. So anyway, I hope the video was helpful to you and that you learned a thing or two. If it was, consider using the affiliate links in the description, the Amazon links, things like that. Hit the like button. It really does help out the channel a lot. Consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to keep it decentralized for the greater good.
The greater good.